In this vinyasa flow, we are combining advanced sequencing with the core elements of classical ballet technique, improving flexibility, strength, and body control all at the same time in one practice. So if you are ready to sweat, then let's get started. And we're going to begin our practice today by coming onto all fours, finding our wrists under the shoulders, knees under the hips. And as we just begin to warm up the spine, we're doing some cat-cow stretches, inhaling, shining the heart forward, arching the spine, and as you exhale, rounding the spine in a cat pose. Just following your own rhythm, following your breath. Deep inhales, deep exhales, in and out through the nose. Filling up the abdomen, engaging the vagus nerve, engaging the parasympathetic nervous system. And on your next breath, coming back into a downward facing dog. Again, letting the movement be guided by your breath, bending and stretching the knees one at a time. Lengthening the backs of the legs slowly and sequentially as you begin to warm up the body, letting your body show you what pace is right for you. Coming up onto the fingertips, distributing your weight nice and evenly throughout all of your joints. Bringing the awareness back to your breath again and again. And as we continue to build a foundation of our breath here, we're going to do some spinal rolls. So following the inhale, rounding the top of the spine, and as you exhale, arching the spine, a little bit different from the breath pattern we follow in cat-cow. Changing it up here a little bit. Inhaling, rounding the spine, almost coming into a plank pose as we shift forward on the toes, and then arching the back as we come back into a downward facing dog. Challenging yourself to bring the most fluid level of movement that you can to every roll. And coming back into a downward facing dog. Deep inhale, reaching for the right ankle with the left hand and looking up toward the ceiling for a nice twist, releasing that lumbar region of the lower back. And replacing the left hand, coming onto the other side, reaching for the left ankle with the right hand, looking toward the sky. And replacing the right hand, downward facing dog. And bending the knees, stepping forward into a forward fold. Flat back, extending the spine, looking forward. And exhaling, forward fold, taking as deep of a bend in the knee as you need to at this point. Clasping opposite elbows and letting the spine continue to decompress in a ragdoll. Nodding the head back and forth, shaking it left and right, releasing the neck and the cervical spine, releasing any energy that you no longer wish to carry with you. Inhaling, looking forward. Exhaling, forward fold. And on the next breath in, sequentially rolling your spine to a standing position, reaching tall. And exhaling, bringing hands to heart center. And hands come to the sides, radiating the palms forward, standing in a sense of confidence, resilience, strength. Clasping the left wrist with the right hand, taking a stretch to the right, opening up the left side body, rooting the left heel down into the earth. Inhaling, coming to center and stretching to the right, grasping the right wrist with the left hand, rooting the right heel into the floor. And inhaling, standing tall, clasping the hands behind the back, interlacing the fingers, and folding forward, opening up the shoulders. Bringing the awareness right back to the breath from wherever it has wandered. Inhaling, looking forward, flat back. Exhaling, forward fold. We're coming into a variation of Uttanasana, so reaching through the legs, bending the knees deeply, and then clasping the left and right hands by reaching that left hand behind the back. Straightening out the knees at your pace if you feel ready to. Opening up the left shoulder with each inhale and each exhale, allowing the straightening of your knees to open up your body a little bit more. And releasing, coming back to a forward fold, flat back, inhaling forward, and exhaling, nose to your shins. Coming onto the other side, reaching through bent legs with that left hand, clasping the right hand behind the back, opening up that right shoulder, and slowly straightening the knees at your own pace when you feel ready, reminding yourself that you can always keep the knees bent. Deep inhale, deep exhale, in and out through the nose, expanding the diaphragm each time. This time inhaling, releasing the pose, looking forward with a flat back, and exhaling, forward fold. And this time, we're floating back into chaturanga, inhaling up into upward facing dog. And we're going to be going rogue with this upward facing dog, keeping the right knee straight. We're going to be doing a side stretch. So this is a little bit awkward at first, but you'll get the hang of it. Bending the left knee, looking over the right shoulder, and then coming onto the other side, left knee is straight on this side, right knee is bent, and you're looking over the left shoulder. All right, one more time. On the right side, a little slower. Right knee is straight, left knee is bent underneath you. Folding forward toward the center of the mat as far as you can and looking over that right shoulder. Then flowing through your upward facing dog and coming onto the left side, left knee is straight, right knee is bent. Reaching for the top left corner of the mat with the left hand. And inhaling back into upward facing dog, exhaling into downward facing dog. Another deep breath in and out through the nose, filling up the diaphragm. And on an inhale, coming into a three-legged dog, right foot floats toward the ceiling. Exhaling, opening the hip, bending the right knee, and feeling a nice deep stretch through the hips and the back. Bringing more and more of an arch to the spine as your right foot slowly finds the floor behind you. We're coming into a wild thing. Shifting your weight onto the left hand and then sweeping the right hand around in a circle. Creating a rhythm and a sense of fluidity as you flow back into a three-legged dog. extending that right leg behind you before you bring the right foot to cross over the left knee in a figure 4. Right hip comes to the floor as we reach behind us with the left hand. Fingertips touch the floor before we flow right back into a 3-legged dog. And coming into Warrior 1, bending the right knee, planting the right foot in between the hands and inhaling, reaching tall. Shoulders down, crown is lifted. Bringing the awareness back to the breath as we inhale, palms come together, looking toward the sky, slight back bend as you exhale, planting the hands to frame out the right foot and then twisting in a lunge. Right hand floats toward the sky, looking up. And as you exhale, following the breath, framing out the right foot and coming back into a 3-legged dog. Deep inhale, and as you exhale, coming into 3-legged chaturanga. Inhaling into upward facing dog and exhaling, coming into downward facing dog. Deep inhale, deep exhale, in and out through the nose, bending and straightening the legs one more time. And looking forward on your next breath, hopping to the top of the mat. And then flat back, looking forward, extending the spine. Exhale, forward fold. And on the next breath, inhaling, coming into a chair pose, sitting back, engaging the glutes, feeling some heat in the lower body. Seeing if you can bring those toes up, looking at them over the tops of your knees. Sitting as deep as you can and then exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, rising to standing. Confident posture. Exhaling, hands come to heart center, reconnect. Deep inhale and exhale, shoulders down away from the ears. On the next breath, inhaling, standing tall, exhaling, diving forward. Inhale, flat back, extending the spine. Exhaling, forward fold. And exhaling, floating back into chaturanga, inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. And bringing the right foot to the center of the mat, left foot comes back into a 3-legged dog, bending the left knee, opening the hips, feeling a nice stretch in the hips and in the back. And very, very slowly bending the knee more and more and bringing that left foot closer and closer to the floor. Slowly and sequentially letting that left foot find the floor behind you, sweeping the left arm back and around, finding your wild thing. And then flowing back into 3-legged dog, left foot extends behind you. Deep inhale, and as you exhale, bringing the left knee in toward the chest and planting the left foot on the floor, coming up into Warrior 1. Bringing the awareness right back to your breath. Grounding, centering. Inhaling, palms come together, slight back bend. Exhaling, framing out the left foot, and then coming into a side lunge twist. Left hand toward the sky, looking tall. And then inhaling back into a 3-legged dog. Left foot toward the sky. Deep inhale, deep exhale, in and out through the nose, bringing the awareness right back to the breath. Deep inhale, and as you exhale, 3-legged chaturanga. Inhaling into an upward facing dog and exhaling, rolling over the toes into a downward facing dog, feeling supported in the breath as we warm up more and more, slowly generating more heat. Inhaling, and as you exhale, hopping to the top of the mat. On the next breath, inhaling, flat back, looking forward, exhale, forward fold. And on an inhale, we're coming into a chair pose. sitting deep, igniting the glutes. Feeling that muscle building. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, standing tall, reaching toward the sky, and exhaling, hands come to heart center, reconnect. Posture is strong, reconnecting with a sense of calmness as you build the heat in the body. Deep inhale, reaching tall, and as you exhale, forward fold. Inhale, extending the spine, looking forward, and as you exhale, forward fold. And preparing ourselves for a crow pose here, we're going to take this up a notch, getting a little spicier. So find a nice strong crow pose, finding the balance. And when you feel strong and secure here, floating back with the left leg, keeping the right toes pointed, meeting the right heel with the hand, and then extending right leg with the right hand toward the sky and an extended side angle. Feeling the fullest extension of your pose. And then releasing the right hand back to the floor, shifting the hips back into a three-legged dog. And then we're finding Wild Thing once more, opening the hip, bending the right knee, floating the right foot down toward the floor very gently, sweeping that right arm around, and then coming back into a three-legged dog. Inhale, and as you exhale, bending the right knee in, finding a figure four with the right ankle over the left knee, right hip toward the floor, fingertips brush the floor behind you as you sequentially flow back into a three-legged dog, right foot extends behind you toward the sky. And bending the right knee in toward the chest, planting it in between the hands, rising up into Warrior One on an inhale. And exhaling, grounding into Warrior Two, shoulders down away from the ears, pointing the palms of the hands toward the sky and opening up the chest even more. Finding the alignment with the knee over the ankle, taking a nice wide Warrior Two here, really taking up all the space on your mat that you can. Deep inhale, stabilizing and grounding, and as you exhale, reaching forward with the right hand, hip shifts to the left as we find triangle pose, reaching toward the sky with the left hand, and perhaps using a block here to support ourselves. Remembering that each side is different for us, and perhaps we have more flexibility in one side or the other. Deep inhale, deep exhale, and we're going to be finding a revolved triangle. So this is an excellent opportunity to use a block. I like to use a block for a revolved triangle all the time. So whatever height of block you'd like to use, support yourself with the left hand and take a nice deep twist toward the right. Right hand reaches toward the sky. And then releasing the revolved angle, coming into half moon. And deep inhale, deep exhale, finding the balance. Inhale, and as you exhale, releasing the left leg to the floor and slowly coming into reverse warrior, stretching the right hand up and back. And on the next breath, cartwheeling left and right hand to frame out the right foot, planting the left heel of the hand on the floor and raising the right hand into a side twist with this lunge. Inhale, and as you exhale, framing out the right foot once more, planting the hands firmly on the mat and coming back into three-legged dog. Right foot extends high toward the ceiling And after a nice full extension, we're coming into three-legged chaturanga, slowly floating towards the floor. Inhaling into upward facing dog, shining the heart forward, and exhaling into downward facing dog. Big inhale through the diaphragm, through the nose. Looking forward, coming up onto the toes, and either jumping or walking to the top of the mat. Inhaling flat back, looking forward, extending long, and then exhale, deep forward fold. And on your next inhale, coming into a chair pose, finding the alignment, sitting deeply back. Inhale, and as you exhale, forward fold. On the next inhale, rising up to a standing position, reaching tall. Exhaling, hands come to heart center. Deep inhale, reaching tall again, and as you exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale, flat back, looking forward. And exhaling, nose to your knees, forward fold. We're finding our crow pose, so take your time to settle in here, find the balance, find the strength. And if you're ready for this challenge, we're floating the right leg back, keeping the left leg off the floor, left toes pointed, shifting to the side of the right foot, finding the left heel with the left hand and left foot extend slowly toward the ceiling together at the same time. Finding the full extension, finding the balance and the stability here. And on the next breath, shifting back into a three-legged dog, finding the floor with the left and right hand together. And then bending the left knee. We're coming into our wild thing. Left toes find the floor behind you. Left arm sweeps around the front body and behind you as you find your back bend. Warming the back up even more. And flowing sequentially back into three-legged dog. Inhale, and as you exhale, we're finding a figure four. So the left ankle comes over the right knee. And as you continue to twist, shifting all the way to find the left hip on the floor, sitting briefly, and then tapping the right fingers behind you on the floor before replacing the right hand, coming back into a three-legged dog. And we're finding wild thing. Hips open up, left knee bends, finding the floor behind you with the left foot, sweeping the left arm around and back, perhaps coming up onto the toes this time. And another full extension, doing our best not to hop around too much or reposition ourselves, seeing if we can sequentially move from one pose to the next. And bringing the knee in toward the chest, planting the left foot on the floor in between the hands, rising up on an inhale into Warrior One, shoulders down away from the ears. Flowing right into Warrior Two on your exhale, extending arms out wide, palms toward the ceiling. Facing the palms of the hands toward the ceiling in Warrior Two is one of my favorite ways to improve posture. Reaching out into a triangle pose, reaching toward the sky with the right hand. And at your own pace, coming into a revolved angle, this is an excellent opportunity to use a block again. Reaching toward the sky with the left hand. And then releasing the revolved angle, coming into half moon. Right hand floats toward the sky with the right foot, planting the left hand on the floor. And deep inhale, deep exhale, finding the balance. And on the next exhale, coming into a reverse warrior. Cartwheeling the hands toward the floor and then finding a side twist in this lunge. Left hand toward the sky. And then releasing left hand toward the floor, coming back into a three-legged dog. Left foot toward the ceiling. Inhale, and as you exhale, three-legged chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Deep breath in and out, stabilizing yourself with your breath. Inhaling, looking forward, and on an exhale, hopping to the top of the mat. Inhaling, flat back, looking forward, extending long, and then exhale, deep forward fold. And on the next inhale, coming into a chair pose, feeling the fire. Sitting deep, letting the toes come off the floor, and exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, standing tall, reaching toward the sky, and exhaling, hands come to heart center. Deep breaths as we ground and stabilize, preparing for the next side. Knowing that you can do this. Inhaling, reaching tall, looking toward the sky. Exhaling, deep swan dive forward. Inhale, looking forward, flat back. Exhaling, forward fold. And on the next breath, preparing for the next crow pose, nestling the knees into the armpits and into the triceps, stabilizing the core, looking forward, and then floating the toes off of the floor, finding our stability and our strength in this pose. Taking several breaths here. And on the next breath, we're coming into an extended side angle, but we're floating the left foot back to meet the floor. And without letting the right foot touch the floor, we're shifting to the side, opening the hips and extending the right knee, toes pointed. Hand holds onto the instep or the right heel and extends with the foot toward the ceiling. Strong breath. And sequentially releasing the foot, allowing the right foot to find the floor behind you as you extend the right arm around into Wild Thing. And this time we're flowing right into a wheel pose, not spending too much time in our Wild Thing, engaging the abdominals and strengthening through the hips and the lower back as you find the floor with your hands behind you. And then releasing slowly and sequentially at your own pace back into a three-legged dog, extending the right foot toward the ceiling. Full extension. Before we wrap the foot around, right ankle comes to the left knee in a figure four. And then sitting back on the right hip, left hand touches the floor behind you before we find our way back into a three-legged dog. Right foot toward the ceiling. And exhaling, right knee comes to the chest, planting the right foot in between the hands, rising up into warrior one. Deep inhale, and as you exhale, opening up into warrior two, really grounding ourselves into our breath. And floating the right hand forward, coming into a triangle pose, left hand toward the sky, remembering that you can always use a block here. Deep inhale, deep exhale, and floating into half moon. Inhale, and as you exhale, floating the left foot toward the floor, coming into a reverse warrior, reaching back with the right hand, giving yourself a really deep lateral side stretch. And then sequentially cartwheeling the hands to frame out the right foot and opening up into this side twist with this lunge. Inhaling, right leg goes high, three-legged dog. Exhaling, three-legged chaturanga. Slow, controlled, deliberate gestures. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. And there's no surprise if you're starting to generate quite a sweat here. We're really getting heated up. So inhaling, exhaling, looking forward and hopping to the top of the mat. Looking forward on the next inhale, and then finding a deep forward fold on your exhale, resetting, centering. And on the next inhale, coming to a standing position, reaching tall. Exhaling, bringing the hands to heart center. Reconnecting, regrounding, reminding yourself that you can do this. Inhaling, reaching tall, and on an exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back, looking forward, and exhaling, forward fold. And preparing for our crow pose on the next side, you can do this. Bringing the knees into the armpits, resting on the backs of the arms, on the triceps, looking forward, floating the toes off of the ground and finding the balance. And then with control, floating the right leg back, keeping the left toes pointed, shifting to the side of the right foot, and then while holding the left foot with the left hand, slowly extending the left knee, bringing the left foot toward the sky. Finding the strength, finding the alignment, and grounding yourself with breath here. Then taking the full journey by bending the left knee, finding the floor with the left foot, briefly stopping over in Wild Thing before you fully flip around into a wheel pose, bringing both hands to the floor. Playing with the position of the feet, bringing the heels down and then coming up onto pointed toes. And then wherever you are in your wheel pose, if you would like the challenge, go ahead and float the left foot toward the sky, either coming up on a demi point on the right foot or trying a flat foot depending on what you would like to feel in your body right now. Taking a few breaths here and then replacing the left leg, bringing the right leg toward the sky, pointing the right toes. And on the next breath, replacing the right foot on the floor and rotating, taking the journey back into downward facing three-legged dog, turning toward the right, extending left foot toward the ceiling one more time. And then bending the left knee, coming into a figure four, crossing the left ankle over the right knee, sitting back on the left hip, right fingertips grazing the floor before you bring your hands back into a three-legged dog, left foot toward the sky, and on the next breath, bending the left knee and coming into warrior one, planting the left foot on the floor, rising up, shoulders down away from the ears. Deep inhale, and as you exhale, opening up into warrior two, stabilizing the breath, slowing the body down a little bit, Recentering, grounding yourself after that work. Palms toward the ceiling. Congratulating yourself for getting through these difficult poses and facing the challenge that you just faced. Reaching forward with the left hand, finding a triangle pose. Releasing some of the heat that you just built in the body, coming back to homeostasis. And coming into half moon pose, floating the right foot and the right hand toward the sky. And on the next breath, coming into reverse warrior, slowly bringing the right foot toward the floor, reaching back with the right hand. Cartwheeling the hands to frame out the left foot and then coming into a twisted lunge, left hand toward the sky. Looking up and then replacing the left hand, coming into a three-legged dog, left foot comes toward the sky. Inhaling, full extension, and as you exhale, coming into a three-legged chaturanga. You can do this. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Feeling the heat, exhaling, downward facing dog, feeling supported and guided by your breath. Staying in the now moment, bringing the mind back to the breath. And taking a spinal roll, curving the top of the spine on an inhale, exhaling, arching the back into downward facing dog. Top of the spine rounds and spine arches as we come into a plank, back into downward facing dog. Inhale, and as you exhale, taking a hop to the top of the mat, and then inhaling, looking forward, exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling once more, lengthening the spine, exhaling, releasing into a forward fold. And inhaling into a chair pose, finding our alignment, sitting back as far as we can, bringing the shoulders down and away from the ears, wrapping the shoulder blades around the back. And on an exhale, folding forward. On the next breath, finding Malasana, a yogi squat, by bringing the heels and the feet to the outsides of the mat, wider than hip width, and then sitting down into your squat, bringing your elbows to the insides of your knees and pressing against the insides of your knees while you bring your shoulders strongly down away from the ears, securing a confident sense of posture here. And deep breaths in and out through the nose, grounding your energy down to the earth after all of the work you just did in the air. And reaching around, clasping the left and the right hand behind the back. And on the next breath, coming to the other side, reaching around the right knee with the right hand and meeting the right hand with the left hand, sweeping the left hand around the back, really opening up the shoulder girdle. And then rounding the back, coming back into Malasana, hands to heart center. And sitting back into a butterfly pose, Baddha Konasana, bringing the heels together and finding the place where it feels right for your body, however far away from the groin you need to bring the heels. Deep inhale, and as you exhale, folding forward as far as you can. Remembering that you can always use a block here for your forehead. And bringing the hands behind you, clasping the fingers, and coming into an open shoulder stretch, pointing the fingers toward the ceiling. Lengthening the spine with each inhale and exhale. And on the next breath, releasing, looking forward. And we're going to do something here by taking our elbows and giving ourselves a little foot massage, waking up the reflexology points in our feet. We're going to take the ends of our elbows and just begin massaging the inside of your foot. And begin noticing where there are pressure points on the inside of your feet that are a little bit more tender in certain areas. And then reaching forward, releasing more into this pose with every inhale and exhale. Bringing the awareness right back to the breath. And when you're ready, begin releasing the pose, coming into a reclined position, hugging the knees into the chest. Coming into a plow pose, taking an inhale and then bringing the feet behind the head, pressing the palms of the hands into the floor, chin comes toward the chest, lengthening the back of the neck. And slowly releasing the plow pose, coming into a shoulder stand. Flexing and pointing the feet, and bringing the feet back toward the floor behind you before you slowly release the hips toward the floor, coming into a happy baby. Bringing the awareness right back to the breath. Deep inhale into the abdomen. And at your own pace, coming into Savasana, perhaps taking any last stretch that your body needs before you fully relax. Feet extend in front of you, hands at your sides, palms toward the ceiling, adjusting yourself so that you can be just a little bit more comfortable. Eyes closed. Taking a deep breath in through the nose. And as you exhale, releasing 10% of the tension you still may be carrying. The ancients called inner traveling Shiva Yatra. We will use this practice to move our awareness from the tips of our toes, across the tops of our feet, traveling with our awareness across our shins to our knees, moving across the tops of our thighs to our hips, moving with our awareness to our solar plexus, moving up to the heart, the chest, the sternum, and traveling with our awareness to the shoulders, down the arms to the elbows, and traveling down to the wrists, lighting up each fingertip with energy and awareness. Feeling each fingertip glowing with light, and bringing this light and awareness now to the throat, traveling up the throat, bringing awareness to the jawline, to the teeth, the tongue, the lips. Feeling your awareness travel to your nose. Feeling your awareness travel to your eyes as your eyes sink into the back of your head. Feeling all of the muscles in your face relax even more deeply, and your awareness now travels to the top of the crown, saturating the entire scalp and waterfalling down the body to the tips of the toes, washing from your system any trace of negative energy, removing from your system entirely any energy that no longer serves you. With each inhale, infusing each cell of your body with positive waves of energy, exhaling expired electrons. Inhaling fresh waves of prana, connecting deeply with the stability of the planet beneath you, completely inhabiting the now moment. Feeling your body completely reset, bringing you back to the wholeness which you have always been, and releasing any of the burdens that you accidentally began to carry, refreshing your spirit, mind, body, and soul, bringing you back to the default of joy, vitality, and strength that is your birthright. Bringing ourselves breath by breath back to the surface level of awareness, infusing life into our fingers and our toes, and at your own pace rolling over to the left and coming into a fetal position. Slowly coming up into a seated position when you're ready. With love, namaste. And if you're looking for something before bedtime to slow you down and open the hips and shoulders, then check out this short flow.